My name is Kelly Pearse. I grew up going to a good church. At a young age, I prayed a prayer in church, made a public profession of faith, and was baptized. Shortly thereafter, I started to doubt my salvation. I think I knew deep down in my heart the reason I made a profession of faith and followed in baptism was to please those around me, not to please God. I continued going to church through my teen years and college years. I also continued to struggle with assurance of salvation, and as time went on, became ashamed of that struggle. Around 2011 and 2012, God began to humble me through several circumstances. I started to understand my depravity and how even the things I tried to do that are good are oftentimes mixed with ulterior motives. After sharing this struggle with my husband, he gave me some biblical advice. He told me that salvation is not based on my feelings, but on what Jesus did for me. He told me the Bible says you can know you are saved, so I needed to stop basing my salvation and relationship with God on feelings, but on what can be known from the Bible. He then told me that it is not so important that you know the exact day and time you became a Christian, but that you know you are a Christian now. The Bible also says God knew us since before the foundations of the world. I knew I believed that Jesus died for me to save me. I knew I needed Jesus to save me, and there is no good apart from Christ. Finally, I knew I wanted to follow Christ. At that point, I stopped questioning my salvation. I had truly repented, but needed to be baptized again. I had a few options of places to be baptized, one being in the Jordan River on an Israel tour I would take in a few weeks. However, from the get-go, I knew God was leading me to be baptized at the church I was originally baptized at. A couple days later, I knew God was also telling me I needed to share my testimony at my baptism. God wanted me to be baptized and share my testimony at that particular church because it took more faith and trust in Him to do so than in front of strangers in the Jordan River. I had to set aside what the people there would think of me and set aside any fears, shame, and guilt and do what God was telling me to do. I'm not a public speaker, so I really didn't want to do this, but I knew that God was telling me I needed to. I shared my testimony and was baptized, and remember when I came out of the water that a burden had been released. Being baptized doesn't save you, but there was such freedom in being obedient to God and seeing that obedience through in baptism.